Hi all, welcome back to my channel Q Warrior, and here we only discuss the interview questions that are asked in the testing interviews. And if you are new to this channel, so it's very important to subscribe and also press the bell icon to get notification about this channel. And today we are going to see another important topic, and it's very important to watch this video till then. So let's begin. So today's topic is waterfall versus agile model. So we'll see what exactly is the waterfall model. So the waterfall methodology is a software development methodology that is based on the sequential linear approach of the software development. In the case of waterfall model, all the software development activities are divided into different phases like requirement gathering, analysis, test design, implementation, testing, deployment and maintenance. So all these phases are performed sequentially in the given order. So let's understand this waterfall model with the help of this diagram. So you can see here the phases of the waterfall model is requirement, analysis, design, test design, development, testing, deployment and maintenance. It looks like the waterfall from the mountain or the hill, and it is very sequential. You have to first complete the step 1, then only you can come to step 2, and if you have not completed step 2 you can't come to step 3. So all the phases are linked with each other and it is very sequential. Now what happens in the agile model? So agile model is based on an incremental iterative approach where the requirement of the complex project are divided into smaller iterations involving collaboration between the different stakeholders of the project. In each iteration, a deliverable is developed, tested and demonstrated to the client. Okay, so in each iteration there is a showcase schedule where whatever functionality they have developed till now in that particular sprint is showcased and the feedback is collected from the client. If it is fine, then they will go ahead with that. If there is some slight modification required, they will go ahead with the modification as well. Now this is the diagram of the agile model. So it starts from the brainstorm, means requirement analysis, then it comes design, development, quality assurance and deployment. So in the design phase, the design document and prototype comes into picture. In the development, iteration, demo and feedback comes into picture. The same happens with the quality assurance, and in the deployment, production and technical support comes into picture. So this is the life cycle of the agile model. Now let's understand the difference between the agile and the waterfall model. So this waterfall model is a model in which each stage of the product's life cycle occurs in a sequence. And in the agile model, it follows an iterative approach. The waterfall model believes in one-time massive whole delivery, but in the agile, it believes in multiple small chunks of delivery at the defined time interval. This waterfall model, it is a traditional and old-fashioned approach, whereas agile model, it is a new and modern approach. In waterfall, one single cycle and single release takes place, whereas in the agile, repetitive number of iteration and multiple releases takes place. In waterfall, it divides the software development life cycle, that is SDLC, into different phases, whereas in agile it divides the software development life cycle into sprints. Okay, now you can understand both the process with the help of the example. So in the waterfall process, you can see it tells that this project has got so big, I'm not sure I will be able to deliver it. But in the agile process, everything is divided into chunks. It's so much better delivering this project in bite-sized section. Okay, this is the difference between the waterfall and the agile using the pictorial thing. Now in waterfall, it is treated as one single project which is further divided into different phases, but in agile the process is divided into multiple projects and each project has an iteration of different stages. So for example, if you are creating an application which is integrated with some other application as well, In the waterfall, it will be considered as a single project, but whereas in the agile, different modules will be considered as different projects, and they will have their own iteration and own stages. The waterfall process has a rigid model. It is rigid and structured model, and it is very difficult to alter the products or the project's description, whereas in the agile model it is known for its flexibility. We can make changes in any project phase at any time. This waterfall model, it is long-term planning scale. In agile, long distance exists between the customer and the developer. You can say there is not at all communication between the customer and the developer after the requirement analysis phase, whereas in the agile process there is frequent communication between the customer and the developer, and also the feedback from the customer is taken and considered. In the waterfall, long time between specification and implementation, whereas in the agile model, short time between specification and implementation. Okay. Also, in waterfall, the business analyst or the BA collects and prepare the requirement, but in the agile, the product owner prepares the requirement and update to the team. Now, in the waterfall, it takes a long time to discover problem, whereas in the agile, problems are discovered very quickly. High project schedule risk is found in the waterfall model, whereas low project schedule risk in the agile model. In waterfall, less ability to respond quickly to changes, whereas in the agile, we have the higher ability to respond quickly to changes. Testing phase occurs only when the completion of the development phase happens in the waterfall model, whereas in the agile model, testing is performed in parallel with the development. In waterfall, the customer is involved only at the requirement gathering phase, and after that there is no involvement of the customer, whereas in the agile, customer is involved throughout the project and feedback is taken from the customer time to time to ensure customer satisfaction. In waterfall, it is very much suitable for projects which have clearly defined requirement, whereas agile, it is suitable for the project where the requirement is changing frequently. In waterfall, stringently sequential process, whereas agile, it is highly collaborative software development process. In waterfall, it exhibits a project mindset, whereas in waterfall, it introduces a product mindset and it is more customer focused. Okay. In waterfall, it is formal and hierarchical, and project manager is the decision maker here in waterfall, whereas the whole team is responsible for taking decision in the agile model, and it is informal. Also, the model that anticipates that there will be no changes in the requirement throughout the project comes under the waterfall model, whereas in the agile model, it is based on adaptation and it embraces the changes. It welcomes changes. Okay. In waterfall, we need to create manual documents to verify the status of the individual work, whereas in agile, you don't require any documentation. You follow the Kanban chart and the burn down chart to verify the project progress and individual work status. Now let's see what is the difference between the agile testing and the waterfall testing. So the waterfall testing, it is a testing that begins after the completion of the development and the build phases, whereas in the agile testing, it concurrently starts with the development phase. In waterfall, planning is done just once after the testing phase. Okay, whereas in the agile testing, planning is done before the project start and is often done during the project. In waterfall, the test plan is very rarely reviewed. So once you have created the test plan, it may happen that your test plan will go to review to the product owner. They may reply or they may not reply. It happens in the waterfall, but the test plan is always reviewed in the agile testing. In Waterfall, it is quite challenging for the testing team to propose any change in the requirement because the requirement is freezed during the requirement analysis process only. And once you come from the requirement analysis phase to design, the requirement is freezed. No changes is made to the requirement. Whereas in the Agile, the test team actively participate in the requirement gathering and change process. In Waterfall, test cases are created once for all the functionality, whereas in the Agile, test cases are created sprint by sprint for the functionality that need to be released in each sprint. In Waterfall, acceptance testing is performed once the client after the release. So here in Waterfall, acceptance testing is performed by the client. But in Agile testing, acceptance testing can be done after each iteration and before the delivery by a business analyst or the test team. And later, it is done by the customer after every release. Okay. In Waterfall, test team and the development team are separated by a clear boundary, and there is strict and formal communication between the developer and the testing team. You can say that if you have any queries, you have to consolidate all your queries and send a single mail instead of pinging them and getting your queries answered. But this doesn't happen in the Agile testing. The test team and the development team are integrated as one team, and there is a free flow of communication. If you have any queries related to your test data, you are facing any issue, you can directly ping them and get your query resolved. In the Waterfall testing, it is extensive test documentation is involved, whereas in the Agile, test documentation is done only as much as necessary. In Waterfall, the test estimates and assignments are often the responsibility of the test manager, whereas in the Agile, test estimates and assignments are the shared responsibility of the team and the test engineers who are involved in providing the estimates and choosing their task. Also, in Waterfall model, regression testing is rarely done and it involves execution of all the test cases. Whereas in Agile, regression testing is done after and it involves only those cases that are required. Now let's see the summary part. By considering all the factors that is listed in this article, we can select the correct software development lifecycle model to develop the software application. There is no doubt in saying that Agile methodologies are preferred over the Waterfall model. 90% of the companies prefer and follow the Agile workflow to develop the software application. Agile methodology is good for all kind of project. Very few companies follow the Waterfall methodology, as you have seen that it has so many limitations that you can't change the requirement, you can't propose the change to the requirement, you can't have direct communication with the developer. So many limitations are there with the Waterfall methodology. This method is suitable only if the application is small, simple, and there are no changes in the requirement. In some cases, we also opt for other approaches called spiral model, V model, and prototype model based on the needs. So these all models that I named right now are the part of the SDLC models. Hope this information will be helpful to you to decide which is the best model for your project. That's all in this video, and we will see most interesting and important topics in the upcoming videos. Please subscribe to my channel, like the videos, and also comment down on the video if you have any queries. Thank you for watching.